Hey guys, this is a video on break even for shares. So you've talked about break even before, but it's slightly different for shares. The ideas are the same though, where it's where you don't earn any money nor lose it. So if you remember back to our previous videos, when you both buy and sell shares, you're charged brokerage and GST on both transactions. So even if you were to sell your shares for the same price that you bought them for, you'd lose money because you're getting charged for buying them and for selling them. Now, the break-even price for shares, like break-even before, is the price at which you can sell the shares so you neither make nor lose any money. I.e., or in other words, the price per share that covers the brokerage and GST that you are charged when you buy and you sell the shares. So it has to be a little bit more than the cost that you paid for the shares to start off with, because it needs to cover the brokerage that you were charged when you bought them and the brokerage that you charge that you get charged when you need to sell the shares as well. So there's a way of calculating the break-even price for any set of shares, and it's useful to know the break-even price for any set of shares because you will know at what point above which you'll earn money. So any price that you sell the shares for above the break-even, you're going to be making a profit. If you sell for below the break-even, then you're going to be losing money. So this looks quite involved, and it is, but the maths is not difficult. There's 5 steps to this. So step 1, you need to find the cost of buying the shares. So basically you do a buying shares calculation, as if you were buying the shares. So that includes the consideration, brokerage, and GST. Step 2, you need to add the fees, brokerage, and GST from buying onto that total cost. So you already considered the brokerage and GST when you're buying them. You're going to add them on again. Add them on again to the cost of buying the shares. This is sort of simulating the brokerage and GST of when you sell them. So it's not perfect, but we'll sort that out later, why we're allowed to go with it not being perfect. So step 3, you need to divide this new total cost, so that's the cost of buying the shares with the fees added on again, that's the new total cost, and divide that by the number of shares you've got. And this calculation gives you something that I want you to call the assumed break-even price. In year 11, you would have stopped there. You would have said that this is the break-even price. But in year 12, you actually have to go back and check, because remember, we are using the fees added on, the brokerage and GST, from buying the shares initially to simulate, to pretend to be the brokerage and GST it would be when you sell them. But a lot of the time, that's not going to be the truth, so you have to actually go back and check it, which is why we need steps 4 and 5. So step 4 gets you to check that the assumed break-even price, the one we got in step 3, actually does cover the cost of buying the shares by selling at the assumed break-even price. So you're going to do a selling shares calculation using this break-even price that you think you got in step 3. And then finally in step 5, there are 2 possible results that may happen from doing step 4. When you do step 4, you're going to sell the shares at the assumed break-even price, and you'll get the returns from selling those shares. And now, either those proceeds from selling the shares, the returns from selling the shares at the assumed break-even price, they're either going to be more than the cost of buying or less. If they're more than the cost of buying, then the assumed break-even price covers the brokerage and GST of both transactions, so that assumed break-even price you got in step 3 will actually be the real break-even price. So you can stop the question there. However, in result 2, if the proceeds from selling the shares at the assumed break-even price are less, then you need to play around with the numbers. That means the amount of money that you get from selling the shares is smaller than the cost of buying from step 1, and that it doesn't cover the cost that you need it to. So you have to increase the assumed break-even price by 1 cent at a time until the proceeds actually do cover the cost of buying. So that sounds very complicated, and I guess it is, because there's several steps, but it can be cleared up by doing an example. So we're going to be doing an example from the book, because unfortunately it's really hard to just devise one that'll work. So we're doing this one. Find the break-even price of 465 shares that you bought at $23.42 each, and assuming 2% brokerage and 10% GST. So first step, just like I said before, is like a buying shares problem. So consideration is number of shares, 465, times by the cost per share. So 465 times by $23.42 is going to be $10,890.30 consideration. Brokerage is 2%, so that's going to be 0.02 times by $10,890, 90 and 30 cents, and that is going to be $217.81. I rounded that. It's actually 0.806, but I rounded up to 81 cents. And then the GST is 10% of the brokerage, because the GST is on that service provided by the brokers. So 0.1 times by $217.81. And so that will be $21.78. So the total cost of buying of these shares is going to be $10,890.30 plus $217.81 plus $21.78. So that's a grand total cost of buying the shares of $11,129.89. That is your cost of buying. So I'm going to write that there so we can refer back to it later. I'll put a box around it too. Cost of buying, $11,129.89. Now you have to add the fees on again for step 2. So the cost of buying was $11,129.89. The brokerage from before was $217.81, and the GST was $21.78. So you're adding those numbers on again. So it's going to be $217.81 and 21.78. So this is going to total plus 217.81 plus 21.78. So 11,369.48. That is can be referred to as a new total cost. It's not as important as cost of buying, so I'm not going to put a box around it. So we need to divide this new total cost that we just got, that's the cost of buying plus brokerage and GST again, by the number of shares. So $11,369.48 divided by the number of shares, which was 465 of them, equals 24.45 dollars. So we are saying that the assumed break even is $24.45. This is one that we can name, even though it's not in the book. It's good to keep track of it by calling it something. So $24.45 assumed break even price. So now we get to step 4. Step 3 is where you would have stopped at year 11. But year 12, you're asked to actually check that that assumed break-even does actually cover the cost of buying that we found in step 1. So how do you do that? You sell at the assumed break-even. And remember, when you're selling, it's minus the brokerage and minus the GST, unlike before. So the consideration is going to be 465 shares sold at the assumed break-even of $24.45. So $24.45 45 cents times by 465 is a consideration of $11,369.25, brokerage of 2% of the consideration. So calculate that, and we'll get 227.39 rounded up, and GST 10% of the brokerage, so 0.1 times 227.39. That's 22.74 rounded up. So in total, what are our proceeds from selling the shares at the assumed break even? 11369.25. Then remember it's selling, so you have to minus the brokerage and the GST. So it's going to be 11369.25 minus the brokerage of 227.39 minus the GST of $22.74, and you get a total proceeds of $11,119.12. So we'll call that the total proceeds of selling at assumed break even. And that's not step 4 done just yet, because remember, part of step 4 is to check. So we did the calculations we need. Now we need to check. So our proceeds are $11,119.12. However, the cost of buying, it does just fit here, the cost of buying is actually over that by more than $10. Okay? So selling at the assumed break even that we got in step 3 does not, in this situation, cover the cost of buying from before. So we need to go on to step 5. We need to go on to step 5, where you had the two results possible. Either the break even does cover the cost of buying, so the assumed becomes the real break even. That's not what happened here, because our proceeds don't cover the cost of buying. So if the selling proceeds does not cover the cost of buying, we have to increase the break even 1 cent at a time until the cost of buying is covered. Now there is a shortcut to this, and it's the way that the book does it, because you can shortcut around it by understanding that if you have 465 shares, an increase of 1 cent would be 465 times by 1 cent, which would be $4.65. We're actually ignoring brokerage and GST on the each cent that we're just talking about here, because it's so minuscule it won't make a difference. But 1 cent would equal a $4.65 increase. Now if you look up here, we need to make up the difference between the proceeds and the cost of buying of, we'll find the difference here, and 11119.12. What is the difference we need to make up? 11129.89 take 11119.12. That's a difference of $10.77. So if we know that a 1 cent increase in the break-even price is going to be $4.65, what's 2 cents going to be? It's going to be 465 times by 0.02, and that would be $9.30. $9.30 still doesn't make up the difference in the proceeds and the cost of buying, so we need to increase it by 1 more cent. And if you look, 465 times by 3 cents, 465 times by 0.03 is going to be $13.95. $13.95 is just more, than the $10.77 that we need. So according to those calculations that we've done in step 5, we need to increase the assumed break even, which was $24.45. So I'll write that here. Assumed break even was $24.45. Need to increase by 3 cents to cover cost of buying. So this, by the end of this step 5, we have decided it needs to be increased by 3 cents. So break even is 3 cents more than that, which is going to be $24.48, and that should be what it says in the back of the book. That is the whole process of doing a break even for shares. It is quite long, it is quite involved, but the maths that you have to do, the hardest thing is timesing, really, and remembering everything that you need to do, and then understanding what the steps up of cents are for the number of shares that you have. But if you get the hang of that, and you got plenty of practice in the book, you should be able to handle those kind of questions. That's one of the more difficult things that you'll have to do in the shares topic. So that's the end of that video. Hopefully it's helpful to you, and I'll see you on the next one.